like to hand it over to Mike Dwyer, and he's working from St. Petersburg, Florida.
Let's see, host disabled. Okay, so I guess you can see me. I can see me, and thank you very much. That's great. Thanks, Sam. First, I'm going to take you down to the hangar. It's a virtual meeting here. So let's head to the hangar. I'll just do the talk here. So I'm Mike Dwyer. This is the airplane sitting down in the hangar at St. Pete Clearwater. Right now, one of our major runways is closed, so that we have a tremendous amount of noise at the hangar. We're at the end of runway 4 here with the hangar, and all these jets and C-130s are taking off and stuff. So I built this airplane back in 1983, and I built it in a year and a half. People said that they didn't think it could be done, but I was working an engineering job, and I was doing the planning for what build I was going to do, and I would get home and actually do the build process. So it went really fast. I stuck very much closely to the plans, and that's the only reason why I was able to build it that quickly. Back in probably 1982, I did a trip out to Mojave Airport, and I can even let this run since you're not hearing it. 1 second, let me pause this. Okay, so I went out to Mojave, and I actually looked at the airplane, took all these pictures where the pitot tube was spaced, and everything I could take pictures of, I took pictures of. So, but I didn't get to sit in it because Gene Sheehan wasn't there in Mojave. But I built it in my house in St. Petersburg at the time, and that was a good thing because you would go home after work, turn on the TV, there was nothing to watch, so you'd go out in the garage and work on the airplane. I think that was a big contributor for why it got built so fast, because if you have to drive half an hour or longer to get to the airport to do the work, you kind of talk yourself out of it. But if it's in your garage, then it's pretty easy to go at. So I like that. The airplane right now has about 1,400 hours on it. It was, like I said, first flew in like 1985, so I think I got Sam beat by about a year, but I think he's got more hours than I do. I still have a regular Continental O200 on it. Let me bring up a video of that so you can see the engine. So here's the engine. Let me maximize this picture. What happens is I got a picture over the top that's making me not get to the screen I need to get to.
I see your ghost engine right now.
Yeah, and Sam is the one that taught us how to do ghost engine pictures. But basically, you can. It's a standard Continental. So there's the engine, and I'm going to do the Sam ghosting so that you can see it slowly fade out. Now, let me go bring it back a little bit and do that again. So it's this is looking at the right side of the engine, and I just have the standard kit carb air system. I'm still using 2 magnetos in the back, and I built this 4 pipes into 4 pipes exhaust system, which I'm exceedingly happy with. Very cheap to build and easy to do. So it'll fade out, fade back in. And this is the other side fading out. And I have an oil cooler on the upper part up here. I think you can see it. Oops, let me pause it. It seems like it's still running. The oil cooler makes, I can basically block the oil cooler off when I'm in flight. And I don't really need the oil cooler at all, even on a 90-degree day. But I've got this 4-inch fan behind it. So when I land and I have to taxi for long times, so say like Lakeland or something, I can turn that fan on and it rips air through the oil cooler, and it keeps me allowing to run on the ground without overheating for a longer period of time. So I like that fan back there. One of the things Sam was saying that we should recommend to say to people, the empty weight on this airplane was 640 pounds, and I set a 1,100-pound gross weight on it. And with two people on a 90-degree day, I typically climb out about 1,400, 1,500 feet a minute type time frame. So she's got plenty of performance. I haven't really been much west of the Mississippi River, but I have been up in Wisconsin, New Hampshire. So it's flown pretty much all over the East Coast. And shortly after this airplane was built, let me see if I can get another picture up here for you. Let's keep this out. This guy, oops, wrong button. The walk around. And so shortly after I built this thing, maybe a couple of years, we started going to the Bahamas a whole bunch. So I think I might be the only quickie that's been out to the Bahamas. I use a standard, I've always used Warnke propellers. Started out with a Bernard Warnke propeller, and then I moved to a Marge Warnke propeller. But it's a standard configuration. That's the plans built tail wheel. I have the small tire options with it, and otherwise it's a standard quickie. Let's just zoom that in a little bit. This is a little walk around I did of it, so I show people how when I'm doing a pre-flight inspection, I check the tail wheel, the elevator, or the rudder, make sure it's not going to fall off, kind of thing. I look for cracks down there in the tail wheel, particularly this area by the hinge is a crack point. The metal can be a crack point too down here, so I keep an eye on that. The only incident I have ever really had with this airplane was I landed on a grass strip that was too short, and what happened was it was a really short grass strip, and it had an incline in it at the beginning of the strip. So I came in as I knew I had to be low and slow, but I was too low and too slow. So I ran out of elevator and smacked into the hill pretty good. Then I did a go around, flew around, and I came back and landed there successfully. But when I came back to my home airport, which was Albert Whitted at that time, they have those little center line rubber bumper things on the runway. And my tail wheel, I made a dead center landing, which is a bad thing to do, by the way, with this tail dragger. And my tail wheel hit that little rubber bumper thing in the middle of the runway, and it snapped off the tail wheel. And the airplane did a left 90-degree turn. So I was like going with my right side facing down the runway, and it just stopped. And during that period, the tail came up, and after it stopped, the tail went back down, and it cracked right in front of the vertical stabilizer, and it cracked off the tail wheel was cracked off. So that was the only real incident I had with the airplane. It really didn't do significant damage to it. So I've been, I don't know, call it fairly lucky all this time. Let's see what else I have in this video.
Hey, Mike, I just
go
wanted
ahead.
to mention to the guys, we have this chat feature here. If you'd like to ask questions of Mike, type them in down there, and then I'll relay it to him.
Yes, okay. Sounds great. Okay, let's go back to this video. And I'm going to go forward a little bit. So one of the things that Sam knows about me is I'm kind of an electronic geek. I actually work at Honeywell, and I do navigation systems. Well, me and hundreds of other people, navigation systems for satellites, rockets, airplanes, Honeywell avionics and stuff. So I'm kind of a aviation geek or avionics geek by trade. So what Sam asked me to do was to look over, some of my instrument stuff and the flat panel displays, and I have. You might find it interesting because it's probably the cheapest way you can do avionics. I just find it fun to use off-the-shelf things that can do fancy stuff. So you'll see, here's my instrument panel. Let's take a close look through that. Okay, it's going here. So there's my airplane zooming into the cockpit. And you can see it's all basically 3 flat panel displays there. So we'll walk through what we got here. The first thing we're going to zoom in down there is on the very bottom. Well, I had a carb temperature issue once. I pulled the carb heat on base, and the engine quit because I carb iced it, and I ended up gliding into Williston Airport. So probably a week after that, I built this carb temperature gauge. And what this is a dual reading inside-outside temperature gauge when you buy at the hardware store. It's super cheap. And I took the thermometer, the thermostat part out of it, and I rigged it so that it reads the air that's coming into my carburetor and the carburetor throat temperature is both read out there. So I can actually see my carb temp, so I know if I'm flying through moisture that I better put the carb heat on. So now a lot of my landings, I don't even use carb heat anymore because I look down and I see that my carb throat's 40 degrees. So I'm like, I'm not even going to use carb heat. So no more carb heat issues. The next item up is a J.C. Whitney 1980 engine monitor. And yeah, you might laugh a little bit about that, but that was dirt cheap too. But I got oil pressure, oil temperature, don't have the RPM hooked up, voltage, inside and outside temperature, and it scans. And this little red light here, if anything goes out of spec, like the oil temperature or the oil pressure, the red light starts flashing, and I rigged it so it beeps in your headset. So I don't like to have the idea of flying along with no oil pressure and not noticing it, but mine starts beeping immediately upon that. So that was a little added invention. The next thing up, I got 2 gizmos. I got this little start-stop timer, and it's a clock and also a timer. Love that thing for keeping track of time. Dynon D10. So I have one of the first Dynons that was produced. And that sucker, you can see the airplane sitting on the ground now. So I've got a little bit of, it's showing me pointed up in the air. I set that 10 or 15 years ago, and it's still, I don't have to retouch it all the time. So the Dynon is just an awesome tool. And the airspeed on the left here, I got it set up with color code. So I got the color code set for 1 person or 2 people, because I come in about 5 miles an hour faster when I have 2 people. So now I just look at the color code. I don't really look at the speed anymore with the Dynon.
I didn't know you could do that. I'll have to take a look at mine.
There you go. But I find that really useful because I just look at the color. You know, the colors were rigged up for like the flap speed, and you know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah. The next thing over is basically a Samsung S4 telephone, but in my case, it's a radar screen. You can see I have 2 airplanes on the screen right now. I'm sitting on the ground, but I've got an airplane to the left at 1897 feet, and I got one at the right at 1847 feet. The way this works is I have ADS-B receiver in the back cockpit, and the ADS-B receiver is sitting there listening to both the transponders and the 978 frequency that comes from the air traffic control towers. And it broadcasts this information over to the tablet using this Avere app, which is free.
What
Go ahead.
receiver are you using?
I'm using a Stratix, which is basically a Raspberry Pi computer and some software and a couple of little software controlled radios. So I built the thing for about $100, I think. So ADS-B in for $100, and it sends a Wi-Fi signal over to this telephone, which is running this free app, and boom, I got a radar screen. So I think that's pretty cool. So the next thing over, well, you see my vertical gas, I got a gas tube down there. I tried using an electronic gas meter and had really bad success with the electronic one. So I just went back to the tube.
Simple.
Maybe someday I'll, simple. Then I have a 10.5-inch tablet, and it runs again this Avere program, which is free. but it's really cool because it shows you, where you are, all the airplane information. These red towers are above you. Um, Basically, a tablet costs about $100.
Mike,
So, yeah,
Mike,
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry to interrupt. What is the software that you're running on your Samsung phone to give you that radar screen?
Yeah, it's still the same software. It's Avere.
Okay.
And what I did was I set it up without a map being displayed.
All
I
right.
didn't download the map, so it's just got a black screen.
All right.
So, but the reason I use the radar screen on the left, because on the right, that thing is so busy, I was missing airplanes on it. Like
Sure.
if a little red dot showed up on the moving map, I didn't see it a lot of the times. Um, so anyway, that's why I got the two screens. Now I definitely see airplanes coming at me. And it's kind of interesting to compare the two too and see if it's both sees the same airplane.
So both units can run off of the same Stratix.
Yes, the Stratix is outputting a Wi-Fi and it can output to say 10, 20, whatever you want devices.
Okay.
So both these devices are attached to that Wi-Fi signal that's coming out. It's kind of cool to talk about an airplane that's got Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, all this kind of fancy stuff now. Next thing over, I have the top thing. It's a Bluetooth engine monitor. So what I'm working on right now is a fancy, Bluetooth engine monitor, and it's going to display on the tablet, or it outputs Bluetooth. So nothing too fancy there. I'm trying to get a better look on this lower part here. That's all my wiring. So this unit here, all my, you see a lot of airplanes with switches going across the bottom or across the top and stuff, and I had that originally myself. But what happens is that every time you get in there to modify your wires, you're crawling under the instrument panel to get at those silly wires, and it makes a big kludge wiring zoo behind it. So in this case, I got 4 screws, and I can pull this panel out, and basically all of my mag switches, my power, everything is rigged to this box. So I can just pull this box out, work on it, change things, add things. I've highly encouraged people to do this rather than have the switches running across the top or bottom. It's just made life is so easy now. A patent I have, and I've got like 4 patents for electronic stuff, but through Honeywell. But my mag switches are these 2 switches here. And the green lights above, you'd say, oh, you can't have a green light on a mag switch. Well, yes, you can. So I detect whether my mag is running or not. And every time the mag goes through a firing cycle, the green light lights. So basically, when your mag is turned on and you're flying along, you better see these 2 green lights flashing away all the time. If a green light goes out, your mag quit. So that's actually, I have a patent on that. The rest of these little switches, they're only good for about 2 amps. But behind this box, there's relays. So that little micro switch flips a relay and I can switch 10, 20 amps, no problem. So that's the electrical system. Next thing over, I hope I'm not boring anybody with all this panel stuff, but people are always looking at panels.
This is great. This is great, Mike.
So the thing on top here is, again, back from the original airplane. That's where I got some power distribution there, mostly related to radios. This is the intercom panel. So I've got pilot volume, passenger volume, and this wire that is plugged in here on the right that's going down, that hooks to a ham radio. So I can go on the radio and talk on ham radio while I'm flying in the airplane if I want to. One time I lost my push to talk switch broke on the throttle, the stick. So I was like, hey, that's not a good thing. So I rigged a push to talk with a transmit light up here on the instrument panel. So now if I do lose my push to talk switch, I got a secondary one up here that I can use. Down below it is a comm radio. I think it's just an ICOM, A200. It's been a bulletproof radio. It's pretty high power output. And I like the flip-flop part of the frequency, and you can store like 10 channels in it and stuff. So it's been a really good radio. I'm happy with that. And I got the switches up here where I can select what radio I want to listen to or talk to. And the next one down, the 1200 guy, that's an Arapaho Stratus ES or something like that they call it. But basically, this is a mode or an ADSB out transponder, and it's fully solid state. I got rid of a tube-based, the Klystron tube-based one, and put this in. So this thing gives you a straight 200 watts output of, what do you call it, transponder signal. But I even went one better than that, because one of my old airplane pictures you've seen, I've got a transponder antenna hanging out the bottom of the airplane, and I hate that. So I did some investigation, and I found a C-130 type of antenna. They call them slat antennas. And the cool thing about that is they don't need a ground plane, and they're totally flat to the bottom of the airplane. So I basically have that C-130 antenna sitting in my luggage compartment, facing down. So there's no hole in the bottom of the airplane. It shines right through the fiberglass. It gives you 3 dB of gain versus a quarter wave gives you called 0 or 1 dB. So basically my 200 watts gets amplified up to like 400 watt signal. So I've got a killer transponder signal coming out. And you guys may say, oh, I don't really care about transponders, but over here, there are so many airplanes under Tampa's Class B. It's just crazy airspace over here. So I want to be seen and I want to see them. And the ADSB has been just a lifesaver in that. Probably in the last 2 years, I have seen and avoided probably 4 or 5 that really looked close, could have been mid-air collisions. So this transponder cost me, well, actually, I got the $500 rebate on it too. So by selling my transponder off, putting this thing in, I think my net cost was like $1,200 to upgrade to ADSB out, which isn't anything to sneeze at, but it's a lot cheaper than an mid-air collision.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, you got about 8 minutes left here.
Okay.
And I got a couple of questions. One from Anthony: what are you sensing for the mag lights? Is that
what am I sensing? Okay, that's a good question. So at the P lead, the P lead's already coming into your cockpit, and it's being switched by those switches. So there's a few 100-volt pulse that's going through there when the mag is turned on. So I run that through a small capacitor into a field effect transistor, and it switches the transistor on and off.
Okay. And another question here: can you control COM or the transponder from any of the flat panels?
No, the transponder is just off doing its own thing.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't see any need to control the transponder from the flat. I guess if you were punched up an airport, it'd be some programs bring up the radio frequencies and stuff like that. I don't do that. I haven't ever really found a need for it. So let's see what else I got here. Sorry for the jumping around. So let it run slowly. I've seen other people with their interiors. When I built this is original interior too, by the way. But I built these little pockets in the side, and it gives you extra storage for lots of stuff. I keep my passenger 6-sack over in that one. Mm-hmm. I have the standard at the very bottom. You can see that's where the aileron reflexor controls at the bottom. Stick. And up at the top, I have the standard trim wheel lock and the trim. That's all plans to plans. Just north of that, you're starting to see the RPM gauge and the EGT, CGT. Fuel, I still have the standard fuel tank, which is empty right now because I just landed there. I have the standard pull brake. So one master cylinder hits the 2 wheels. So that's the old way. It's not maybe the best way. Throttle, mixture, carb heat. The other knob up here on the top is air. So I started off with these little 1-inch or 2-inch little vents, air vents blowing on the panel. That was stupid in Florida. So this opens up the entire NASA air vent. So I get a ton of airflow in. And let's see if you can find that little start switch above there. No, I went down. Let's see if I can go up a little bit. I'm going to back it up just a hair. You see this start and run switch? When I first built the airplane, the propeller only weighs 7 pounds. So when you go to start, I was getting kickbacks and it was wrecking my starters and stuff. So I built this little electronic gizmo. When it's in the start position, it will not fire before top dead center, period. So I switched to the start position to start the plane. And then once the plane started, I hit it to the run position. So another little extra gizmo. Oh, this is my my parking brake. So in flight, I hook up this bungee cord to the brake handle, the long one, and it just barely pulls on the brakes. But if I want to be stopped on the ground, I've hooked this short bungee cord up to it, and it pulls on the brake handle really hard. Let's see what else I got. Oh, that's just my standard door lock. I don't know what I'm showing here. Oh, my survival knife. I got a little survival, so I can hack my way out. You can see the this is part of the door lock and the door closing system over here. You can tell it's been used a little bit. Back here is where I have my storage compartment, so I can throw stuff in there. And it's basically sealed. The back bulkhead has sealed up so that you can't, you can just throw stuff back there and let it fly around. It doesn't really matter. This here's a lead weight. So when I fly single place, I put probably about 20 pounds behind the seat there. It helps me to plant the tail wheel down better. Oh, and I got my ham radio antenna stuck to the side back there. This thing in the middle, oh, so here's this, behind the canopy, I've got openings, so it allows me to, in flight, reach in there and throw stuff in there, and I keep my wheel chocks, and maybe drinks and stuff back there. Okay, let's go forward a little bit. Oh, and this is the back, so you can see the holes where I can reach through. I keep my ELT, my EPIRB up here. It's one of these little rescue links. So I take that out and I use it in my boat when I go offshore, or I use it in the airplane. So I like this little rescue link ELT. I got my registration showing there, which is one of the legal things. The head cushions are real comfortable when you're in flight. I don't know why I went back to that. Oh yeah, so I was going to show you some of this ADSB. So
You got 3 minutes, Mike.
3 minutes. Okay, so I'll keep it real short. So that ADSB system I got in the back there that's transmitting up that ADSB stuff. If you add a $15 AHRS module and a $10 GPS, you've got an attitude indicator. So notice I've switched my radar display over to the attitude indicator screen, and the dynon on the left is showing the, that's your gold standard. So basically I'm comparing right now, I'm flying, I'm 2,100 feet up at 115 miles an hour right now. And they're both holding nice and steady. So let's go forward a little bit. And now I'm in a gentle turn. The hardest part about an attitude indicator is when you stay in a turn, it should continue being in a turn. You'll find the cheap ones will slowly drift back to level if you stay in a nice steady turn. So this module, for 25 bucks, I've got a attitude indicator. I think it's just incredible. And you can see I'm just going back and forth, and it's matching the dynon over there perfectly. So let's go a little farther. It's got a G meter with it too. And basically this is all free software. So here's kind of an example of the moving map when I've got airplanes flying around me. I see there's an airplane down here. They change colors when they get to be more of a threat. Let me see if I can find another one. See how that airplane's coming up on me now? And the tail, the length of that, it shows you how fast he's going. Fast movers have a real long line, and
Hey, Mike, we'll have to talk to
Yeah.
the guys at Avair and have them come up with a different icon for the aircraft. I have mine set with a long easy, but we need to have a quickie type.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's only a choice between a long easy and a regular airplane, so I just left it regular. But this free Avair program lets you bring up IFR charts, and look, at the airplanes are still displayed on the IFR charts. And then when you come back to land, now I'm lined up on final. Look, at there's a plane there, plane here, plane here, planes all over the place. But I'm landing on runway 18, and you land, and then as soon as you get down to stall speed, the airplane, it brings up a taxi program, so you can watch the airplane just taxi all the way back. And I zoomed in a little bit there.
Hey, Mike, we got they're getting ready to cut us off now. So
Okay, but
thank
it brought me all the way back to my hangar, so
thanks
that's cool.
very much. Good timing. And
Thank you.
again, everybody, when you log off, just come back on. And I want to thank Mike again for this. It's a great presentation, and it's worked out really well, I think.
Great.
There we go.
Nice presentation, Mike.
Great.
I'm gonna go out and do all that stuff he just did to my airplane.
I've done a lot of that stuff he did, like the carburetor ice temperature gauge.
Oh, good, you got one.
Well, I had one, Mike, but my wiring that I've used was so fine
Yeah.
that I need to rebuild it and put more robust wiring and get a new unit, you know. But I really liked it. But I haven't had carb issues for quite a while, so I just kind of ignored
You might want to look into this stuff called magnet wire. It's basically solid copper wire that's got enamel over the top. It's pretty tough stuff, and it's really tiny, so you can get in those tiny little spots with that stuff.
I still have well, I'd have to recreate it because I epoxied the bulb into a bolt and then took and put it in a lathe and cut it so the bulb was sticking out.
Yep.
You know, eventually.
Yep.
And with all that in and out and back and forth, the wires just got to where they weren't any good anymore. And I just kind of canned the whole idea for a while. But then I've got your bent C antenna for the comm too. That thing really works nice.
Yes, it does. I just inherited a antenna tester gizmo. You hook this thing up and it tells you everything about the antenna. So I'm going to see if I can tweak that even into a better antenna.
Cool.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But I did mention that C-130 transponder antenna. That thing, it's just amazing.
I'm using the same old flat antenna that came with the kit for my regular transponder.
A flat, does it stick down
No,
somewhere?
it's not an ADS-B. That's right. It's not ADS-B.
Oh, it doesn't matter. That's fine.
I got a NavWorks ADS-B, one of the early ones, for $589.
Where did you stick your antenna?
It is clear back in the tail.
I'll say that's.
Now to re-drill, tap, put bolts in there in the bracket was a real chore. And I took a piece of pipe, half-inch pipe, that was, I think, 6 feet long, put a drill bit on one end, put a chuck on the other, and spun that thing to drill it. And then I took the drill bit out and put a socket on there to rotate the bolts in.
Yeah.
It was one fun thing to do.
And is that the transponder antenna you're talking about? It's way back there. See, the problem with the transponder antenna, the longer the length of the coax, you lose half your signal in about 10 feet of that wire.
Well, the reason I had to move it was my ADS-B, I couldn't get it far enough away from my transponder.
Oh.
And when I was talking with NavWorks about it, they said, get it as far away as you can. And that's as far away as I don't seem to have any trouble with the transponder.
Okay. The other thing is like where you put splices, because if you're going to take the tail cone off, you have to put a connector in there, and you lose half your signal for every connector too.
Really?
Yeah, so.
I'm operating negative.
I've never had anybody say my transponder didn't work because I don't use flight following or I don't ever change the code.
Yeah.
I just got the shark fin, but I have it in front of the split line.
Yeah, that's kind of where I had my little shark fin sticking out the bottom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had that. That was pretty successful. But I just hate sticking antennas out on this airplane.
Mike, where do you find that antenna? That flat-
eBay. eBay. A long time ago, probably a couple years ago, I sent out onto the queue list, about the antenna, where to get it, and a couple of guys got one. But
I have the flight system technology antenna.
Mhm.
You know, the one that, that you could order with the ground plane and a little nub sticking down from it. It seems to work fine.
Oh.
But I have it mounted on the side of the fuselage inside.
Mhm.
And I think I've got a dead spot because I've got my ELT sitting on the floor about 1.5 feet away from it.
Yeah.
I seem to get real good response in flight following when I got people on my right side, but on my left side they don't seem to get me.
Yeah. Yeah, that it'll do that because I get my engine when I used to have one on the inside, the engine was definitely blanking it out.
Yeah, I think this thing it's got a big battery, and I think the battery is not good for
Yeah.
signal, but I'll move it sometime.
Well, like I said, the C-130 sitting on the bottom in the luggage compartment, it doesn't get in my way at all. And there's nothing blanking it. There's no metal. It radiates from the very bottom of the antenna and stuff, so it's totally clean.
There was a couple of stories early on back in the 80s about putting a piece of metal between you and the antenna so you didn't irradiate your privates.
Mhm.
I don't know if that means anything or not, but
Just make
Yeah.
it public.
Yeah, we're all old enough, probably doesn't really make any difference anymore.
Sad but true.
Sad but true.
Hey, Mike, what tablet do you use, and how does it work for your primary navigation? And you have Avera on it.
Yes.
For as far as sunlight goes, I see you've got on the top of your canopy, you've got a sun shield paint. Looks like it's painted in.
Yes.
I wondered how your screen shows up in the sunlight.
Yeah. So first, I like that round. It makes the plane look faster, I think,
It does.
with that white paint. So, but yeah, that keeps the sun off me more than the tablet. I have a slightly tinted canopy too, and that helps a little bit. But I've not really had any brightness problems. I see the screen. I didn't even have the screen turned all the way up because it really sucks a ton of battery power. Sucks a lot of battery then. But yeah, so I'm using a Samsung 10.5-inch tablet, and Avera only runs on Android systems, so you Apple guys are out of luck.
just
I
curious.
really like that setup with the you got the satellite phone over there. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
my cockpit and see if I can find any space to put one in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just
when you're
jump
running all up, what kind of current are you drawing?
I have a little power supply behind the panel that takes the 12 volts and makes the 5 volts, and it plugs into the USB ports on both the phone and the tablet. I'm drawing less than a couple amps at 5 volts, so at 12 volts I'm probably drawing like 0.2 amps.
Your total system load for your whole airplane. Yeah.
Boy, I mean the transponder's the biggest power consumer, probably 3 amps there or something. I'm well less than 10 amps when I'm running.
That includes your fuel pump?
Yeah, because that's an intermittent thing. That really doesn't draw much power either.
How do you control that, Mike?
I have a fuel pump switch, so I don't like just turning that fuel pump on and leaving it go, because then when the pump quits, and I've had 2 quit so far, I like to pump up the header tank and then shut off the fuel, and I start my timer going, and in about 10 minutes I turn it back on. So I'm continuously monitoring the fuel system rather than just turning the pump on, letting it go, and never looking at it again. So
I use the same thing. I have I use a Garmin GPS Map 196, that old thing, and it
Yeah.
works great. And it's got a little timer on there, a fuel timer. So every 15 minutes it comes up, says check fuel, and it's worked great for years. But I agree. I don't like running that thing all the time.
Yeah, I think it's better to keep an eye on the fuel.
I run mine continuously, just the opposite, but I have made a little ball out of micro and put it in the hose.
Mhm.
And so if that ball's not clear up at the top of the thing, something's not working.
Yeah. Yep.
I put in 2 pumps in mine and it pumps it up really fast, so it uses less time for both.
Yeah.
I have 7 pumps in mine.
We have to get a tape measure out too now, Jay.
Mike, where do you get Ave?
Avare is a free program you download from any, the standard place you download, Google Play Store. Just
How
type
do you
in
spell it?
AVARE.
Because I've just looked for it and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, and it's an Android app, so you have to be Android.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, a question back to the transponder antenna. I followed your lead and put that in my quickie and it works great.
Oh, the flat one?
Well, yeah, the one that's off the heavy of some kind.
Yeah.
I was afraid to open it up and look at it. Is there anything in there that you can pull off? It's a little heavy, a little big, not really bad, but I was wondering if there's some way I could make it just a couple of little components, but that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, you could get a circuit board and etch your own.
Oh, I'm not that smart.
Yeah, I'm not either, and that's why I got this one. But no, I actually tried it a little bit once. I was a little unsuccessful with a circuit board transponder antenna, but
Oh yeah. I guess if I ordered another one, or not much, I don't know what it costs, but just order another one and play with it maybe and look around inside there.
yeah, I don't think you want to mess with that one much.
Yeah, probably not.
It's kind of designed. And like I said, it does give you twice the power. It multiplies your output power by 2 and your input power. It receives better too.
Yeah, I've got it on a
So-
micro air transponder, which was kind of a Menroller before with that
Yeah.
little bitty antenna, but it's working well now.
Yeah.
So is that the 978? Is that what you're using it for, input or output?
Well, I'm the more expensive one. I don't broadcast on 978. I broadcast the deal is with the 978 is that that's only for the United States. So if I was to fly to the Bahamas or Mexico or something like that, that one's not legal for there. So the Mode S transponder, which is that Arapo Stratus that I bought, that one is a 1080 broadcasting system.
Yeah, I guess mine's a dual band because it's the Dynon one that goes with that Skyview. But
yeah, and you're talking ADSB in, and I was talking ADSB out. So yeah, I have a dual band receiver, but it's just 2 little antennas there in the back shell.
So your fancy C-130 is just for out, right?
Out, yeah. Yep.
I put in the what's it called, Uavonics Sky Beacon, so I get in and out both.
Mhm.
And it was a simple install. Like I said, I'm not that smart. But
Yeah.
it seemed to work well. Except that's in my RV, so I'd have to put ground planes and everything. I'd have to reinvent the wheel a little bit there, maybe not.
Yeah. I dream of going back to the Bahamas though. That's why it didn't make sense to go with a 978 out system. So
I dream of going to the Bahamas too, but
Mike, you have an air vent on the outside,
yes,
just below your wing.
yes.
Did you add that in or was it standard?
Standard. That was with the plans. And so I have the NASA air vents on both sides in the front, and in the back under the wing, those are the air outlets because you want some place for the air to come out.
Yes.
So
Okay.
so I think the inlets were in the plans, but I don't think the outlets were in the plans.
No, I didn't see them and mine doesn't have it.
Yeah.
but it's
They
very
had them
different.
in
Yeah, it's logical.
one of the early quickie newsletters that came from the factory had suggested adding those.
Ah,
Yeah,
yeah, because I know I didn't come up with that. So
that's the best place for them, underneath the wing back there.
yeah.
I had them underneath the fuselage and back, and in a high angle of attack, it would push air back up in that. So I covered that and did the slits underneath the wings, and it worked a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you were talking about that incident you had. Said you were landing at a very short grass strip.
Yeah.
Uh,
I was a crazy kid back then.
yeah. 2 questions. How short was it? And do you land on grass anymore?
I think it was like 2,000 feet long.
Ooh.
So when I first started flying this airplane, the Albert Whitted, the north-south strip was 2,800 feet. And sailboats would come by with 40-foot masts and stuff. So I got pretty good at doing like 1,600-foot landings. Takeoff is no issue. I'm often about 700 to 1,000 feet, so I can take off from anything. But landing, 1,600 feet's about my best. So this grass strip was about 2,000 feet long, which you would say that's crazy. But the initial part of the hill, I figured that would slow you down enough that the 2,000 would work out, and it did. But I just came in too slow.
And do you land on any grass at airports anymore?
About a year ago, we went up to that, there's an airport north of here where they fly P-51s and stuff off grass. Whitman, Tailwind was up there. I forget the name of that strip. But yeah, so a couple years ago, I landed on a grass strip, and I kind of regretted it too, because it was awful bouncy.
Yeah. There's a big long grass runway at Indiantown. I remember from my paraplane days 100 years ago. I thought if there's any place I would go land in Florida on grass, that might be the place. But
Yeah.
What's that one in Ocala?
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It
I
was
can't
this
think of it. I've
really
been there
long
3 times
strip.
in my tricycle gear.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
it was okay. It wasn't.
almost Leeward area.
That's it. Leeward Air Ranch. Yeah.
Did I get 10 points for that?
Yeah. So that was a couple years ago. I landed at Leeward. But they fly P-51s and all kinds of wild stuff off that thing.
Yeah, it's probably been about 10 years since I've been in there.
Yeah.
But it was smooth.
Mike, I looked at your website, hoping to find some documentation on the electronics you've got in your aircraft. Notice the 2017 panel upgrade doesn't work.
Oh, that when you click on that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that then. Thanks.
What was there?
Oh, it was. Okay.
What is supposed to be there? Have you documented the things you talked about today?
Oh, gee, I don't know. The problem is that us experimenters, we keep changing it all the time. So you could document it one time. I'm punching it up right now just to see if I can even find it. 2017 panel upgrade. Okay, oh, look at that, doesn't work, broken. So I don't know why the link's broken, but I'll fix that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Hey, Mike, this is unrelated, but I know Kevin Sheely put a new engine in his airplane. Have you heard anything about that?
You know, I didn't know he put a new engine in the airplane.
Yeah, he had his rebuilt with high compression pistons, and he put a Cato prop on it, but I hadn't heard from it yet.
I'll bet I pissed him off because we've flown together and I blow by him.
really?
Yeah. Well, there's a video I've got on YouTube where we take off together on the runway. I'm just behind him videoing him. And I had to throttle back like 50% to keep up with him. So.
Well, I'll have to talk to him about. I talk to Kevin from time to time, and he's told me about stuff that he's working on his engine. He's working on exhaust system right now. His exhaust blew a hole in it, so he's working on that. He's been saying that he wants to go faster, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
I've been training mine at high altitude, so it's ready to go. Sometime I'll fly down to sea level and see how fast it'll go.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, I'm sure. How high do you go?
I've been up to 16,000 feet, and that's flying cross country because we got these rocks that stick up in the air.
Yeah. I think I was 14,500 and I was still climbing like 500 feet a minute.
Yeah, it seems to climb, quite well, even at high altitude, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't wallow along like my other airplanes did when you get up there. If you can point the nose down and get the speed up, it seems to go pretty good. But
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd
there's
like
a
to
guy.
Hmm.
Oh, sorry.
I'd like to latch onto a bottle of oxygen sometime and just see what mine will do.
Larry Coates, I forgot his last name.
Coots, Larry Coots.
Coots
Couch, yeah, that's correct.
in Atlanta. He took his to 20,000.
Yeah, he got up there. And Jim Patillo got up there one time too, I think.
Yeah.
yeah, I really haven't done anything except use it for cross country. But coming back from Iowa from Kevin's thing, I was getting true airspeed about 160 at 13,000 feet, so that was working out just fine.
Nice.
Now, Jazz, Flatlanders, if we were at that altitude, we'd be having a talk with our pencil or something.
Well, it's fun. You see all kinds of strange hallucinations when you get up there.
Like the altimeter reading.
Like the altimeter.
I thought I saw Jerry in an F4, but
I saw you go by.
Yeah.
Those Bahama trips I used to make, I used to always do those like 12,500 because I was out of gliding distance for 5 minutes. I could glide to land either direction, and the worst point I was ever was 5 minutes out of gliding distance.
Wow.
So
How much more altitude would have taken to make it gliding distance either way?
probably 14, 15, I'll bet. But yeah, I used to do typically like 12,500. But
Mike, how much time do you have on your aircraft now?
about 1,400.
Okay. You seem to be one of the biggest flyers currently. I haven't been putting on, anywhere near as much as you anymore. So but that's cool. You're flying a lot. I appreciate your flight reports that you put out and your videos and all that. It's all pretty cool.
Yeah, I try to keep everybody motivated that's still building.
Yep, there you go.
It helps us guys that are done to get out and fly too.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike,
Although in Florida, I got a little bit of advantage in Florida because it's generally pretty nice.
hey, Mike, if you're headed to the Bahamas and you can't, how do you know if you're going to be able to see the horizon ahead of time? Or if you can't see it, do you head back, or what do you do?
Yeah, that is a good question. In fact, one time I was coming back from the Bahamas and the gray started turning gray and gray, and I'm inside of a cloud. I mean, and it just sneaks up on you because it's just gray, and the sky turns into the water, and so that's a good question. A couple of times going to Key West though, I actually turned around because as soon as the sky looks the same as the water, it's like
Yeah, it's a bad combination.
yeah.
Does that happen when it's cloudy or when it's sunny?
Hazy. It happens
Hazy.
when it's hazy. Clouds, you can see the clouds. That's not an issue. But the haze, it's just the gray. It just all turns into the same color gray. So it gets kind of scary. I don't like it. But now I've got the Dynan and I've got that other backup EFIS if I need to pull it up. So I'm a little happier now, but I don't like to fly IFR.
Is it worse in the wintertime or the summertime?
Summer.
Summer, yeah.
Yep, summer's way
So
worse.
it's just humidity haze?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the smoke get clear to Florida? When we went to Bruce's flying, there was smoke from California everywhere. The visibility really stunk.
Yeah, no smoke got down here. And that's kind of a good thing about Florida because we got water on both sides. So we always get these sea breezes. So our visibility is usually pretty darn good here.
a different topic. What would cause my old ELT to just turn on by itself? I flew all the way across the state of Missouri with it going. Didn't know it.
Yeah, mine, actually, you should, when you're flying cross country, you should always tune in 121.5 on your comm radio anyway, just to listen to what's going on.
I only got one radio.
Yeah, but I mean, oh, so you're talking a flight following or something, and so you can't do that. Whenever I'm not using my radio, I always turn it to 121.5.
Yeah.
So I would have heard the thing go off. But my, I don't even have a 121.5 ELT anymore.
I do.
So
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
no one listens to it.
I thought there was in fact, I couldn't shut it off with a switch. I landed at Marion there just down the street from Sam.
Yeah, that would mean your switch is bad.
Well, I got a brand new
Remote?
replacement for it, and it did it again.
Yeah, maybe your wiring is shorted out somewhere then to the remote switch, or
I was thinking it might be those triangle light things in the middle of your runway there in Asheville. Those are big for our little tires. That wasn't it though, was it?
Oh no, this is airborne.
Oh, okay.
I was just trying to fly straight and level, so it could still been a lot of G's involved.
Yeah, Jerry, I take the batteries out until I need it.
It's behind me.
yeah, mine, you couldn't have done that too. But no, I actually pulled my 121.5 out. I don't even have it in the plane now.
As soon as I come along with $600 somewhere, I'll get one.
Well, I got you beat. I showed you that little EPIRB that I got up in that luggage rack thing.
Yeah.
Those are cheap.
What's
So
cheap?
it's called an EPIRB Rescue Link.
Is it
Those
is it
meet the
legal?
requirements.
Yeah, is it meant
There is
to
no
be
requirement anymore.
There's an ELT requirement.
I don't think there is, because the requirement didn't get updated when they went to the 462 ELT EPIRBs. But here's what you do, Jerry. The Rescue Link EPIRB. They're little handheld gizmos. So when you go hiking out in the mountains and stuff, you take it with you.
Yeah.
We do these cruises. We used to go cruise out by Roatan and stuff on a cruise boat and stuff. Those guys go out to these islands with nothing. So I bring my EPIRB there too.
Now,
But
does that have a subscription with it, or just?
no, it's no subscription. You register it with the Coast Guard so that when it goes off, they know to call Jerry Marstall, and they got your phone number on file. Okay. But here's the way you do it cheap. When those things, the batteries in them go bad, the price of them drops to zero. You have to send it back to the manufacturer to get new batteries put in. But the batteries are standard CR123s or something. You can buy them; they're cheap. So you want to find you want to find an EPIRB that's got bad batteries in it. It's worn out. It's past its redate. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
They're dirt cheap, and then you put the batteries in yourself.
Is that EPIRB?
Yes, EPIRB and Rescue Link, RESQ, and then link.
I want to go on eBay or somewhere and look around.
Yeah,
for trying to get
eBay. Get one that's needs batteries.
I hope none of these other guys are listening.
Oh, there are plenty available. So when I take my boat out to the Florida Keys and stuff, I bring that thing with me. You see what I mean? So it's really useful for lots of things.
We were discussing that the other day, and a lot of times people, like especially out in Jay's area in the mountains, if you crash an airplane and you're there for a day or two and you decide to walk off, you can haul that with you and they can find you.
Yeah.
Instead of the air, and they'll find the airplane, but you're gone. So, you know, that was, I think Charlie Johnson mentioned that to me.
So even though it's Coast Guard, it covers the continental U.S. It's not
absolutely.
Just
Absolutely.
water.
Yeah. Well, specifically what it does, it transmits a signal up to the satellite that's flying by, and the satellite picks you up, and it's sending your GPS position. So it's much more accurate than the old ELTs. It's giving them your lat long, and it's giving you who it is, and it's awesome.
I use a spot locator too.
I used to, but that's $150 a year.
It's up to 200 now.
I got rid of mine.
You
when it
guys
was
are
like-
cheap bastards, aren't they?
I tell you, if you want to learn cheap here in performance, pay attention to Mike because he's always been, he has set the standard.
I love it. I think I can outkeep.
He just saved me $350. My camera blew off the airplane.
There you go.
The mount broke, and he put me onto one that's got like 10 times more capability for $50.
$50.
Yeah.
I love that little camera.
Phone battery. So yeah, don't buy anything without talking to Mike first.
Well, you can see my whole instrument panel was built for like $200. You know?
Mine would be made out of chewing gum if I did it.
I loved a long time ago in the quickie builder list, we had everybody put all the kitchen utensils and things that they've used in their airplanes on the list. It was amazing the stuff we were doing.
It's real trash stuff. The beauty of experimenting.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun. Good job.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to ask you guys, how was the resolution quality in the video? Did it look pretty good?
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real clear.
Yeah, because I think when we use cell phones and hangers across Wi-Fi, the resolution, it's kind of been blurry. So I was kind of hoping this would be sharp.
Yeah, you could read the small print on your panel and so on when you were going through the panel
Good.
part, you know.
Yeah, if I do one, I'm going to have to do it like you did, Mike.
Yeah.
So it's I get no signal.
Yeah. The only thing that threw me off was when I was full screen, I had the pictures of people on my right-hand side, so I couldn't click on those buttons. I couldn't click the stuff over there. It was like,
I notice there's a common affliction among quickie drivers is there's always an RV sitting on the other side of the hangar.
oh, I wanted to tell people that too. That's a cheap way, because I own the hangar and I lease it. The other guy, I lease it to him and he pays my taxes and my condo fees. So my hangar costs me nothing. So I like that.
In the true spirit of Mike Dwyer, the hangar costs nothing.
Damn
It
it,
does
I just
literally
got
cost-
out-cheaped.
I got out cheaped.
Damn the luck.
You
Do
need
you
to
make your own? You make your own fuel too?
Oh. But I do buy it at Wawa gas station on the way there.
Oh, man.
Well, they have no ethanol fuel there at all our Wawas around here. So,
I remember when that happened to you, you were really upset when they
oh, that
put all the
ethanol.
ethanol down in Florida.
I'm
Here in
still
Iowa,
upset.
where they make tons and tons and tons of ethanol,
Yeah,
every station has
yeah,
no, regular gasoline with no ethanol in it.
yeah. And you're right. I was really peeved at that. I still am.
I don't recognize Mr. Lawrence Wade. Where's he from? Where are you from, sir?
A little town called Ellington. It's a Palmetto, Bradenton, Sarasota area.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yep. I ran up the road, Mike, a couple months ago. Took a look at his airplane. It's really,
Yeah, he was up
really
there.
pretty.
Oh, super.
I drool over his avionics. I'm trying to figure it all out.
Don't. How many do we have today?
We had 16 in the first one. We got 13 now.
Oh, wonderful. Everybody else is mute. Huh?
Yeah. We've got about 6 minutes left here. And so you guys have any more questions or Mike, is there anything else you want to cover that you didn't get to?
Mike, do you still handle Dynon equipment or move that through or not?
I'm still listed as a dealer, but I haven't sold one for a long time.
I'm sniffing, but I've been sniffing for years, so who the hell knows?
Yeah. I don't even know if they'd recognize me as a dealer anymore.
I see my D180 is no longer in production. That's been a great unit. I mean,
Are they supporting it yet, Sam?
Pardon me?
Are they supporting it yet?
Yes. Yeah.
That's my biggest peeve is you buy something and it seems like not very long and then they quit supporting it. You're done,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I was happy to see that they went to the certified. It's exactly the same as what I have in my experimental, but the fact that they're doing it in certified airplanes means that they're going to support it.
Yeah, and your point you just made there brings up a good thing too. So my Dynon D10, I had to replace the panel, the display panel in that. So I basically had Dynon send me a new display for it. If you park it so that the sun is behind you and it's shining on your flat panel displays, it'll wreck them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm real careful when I park the airplane, either put a sun shield over it or, you know, face it toward the sun. That way it won't shine on the panel pieces. Because those tablets and those phones, they have those lithium batteries in there. Those do not like to overheat.
Mm.
And I actually wrecked the Dynon display too from the same thing. So good caution there for you.
Mike, you talked about $15, I think it was attitude indicator.
AHRs? Yeah.
AHRs.
Yeah.
What are those? Can you?
Well, when you build your ADSB in, you use a Raspberry Pi computer, a little computer, $35 or something. There's an attitude heading reference system. That's what AHR stands for. I can give you the part number later if you want to email me, but it's $15 and it just sticks onto that Raspberry Pi.
All right.
And then boom, you got it. And you need a little GPS too. So I got a little $10 GPS on my Stratus and a AHRS, and now I can get attitude indicator, and it's awesome.
Right. I used to use a I think it was a device right now, but I had Anywhere map on it, and I was flying an Aerostar into an IFR airport in Florida one day, and my ILS dropped out on me at about 400 feet with a 200-foot ceiling.
That's not good.
And I finished. I still had glide slope, but I finished the approach using the localizer on that system. It was just rock steady right on with the ILS before the ILS quit. So
yeah, Larry's a humble guy too. Tell us your background, Larry.
Well, I started out. My dad had a huge crop dusting business in Mississippi. We had 28 airplanes in 3 ends, and I flew the B-52s in Vietnam, 2 tours. Spent about 6 years, a little over 1,000 hours in F-111s, Sabreliners. Flew for Pan Am until he went bankrupt, and then flew an Aerostar for a while here locally as a corporate pilot. So I love flying. It's in my blood.
Well, thank you for your service.
I'll do it again.
Well, guys, we have 2 minutes left here, so it's pretty much time to wrap it up.
Right.
Mike, thank you very much for doing this. It's really great. And your new format, I'll have to be talking to you about that a little bit and get the details of how you managed the shared screen feature. And we'll maybe look at that for some other folks like Jay or.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
So.
Did you come to Enid?
No, I didn't.
No, Sam, could you come to Enid and help me do this when I have to do my next month?
Okay.
Well, I'll get a hold of you ahead of time, Bruce.
Okay.
We'll do a little bit of practice.
Speak slowly, because that's how I listen. Hey, Mike, we went to Whitted Field once, and we came down and saw you one time, but landed in St. Petersburg when they had the Daytona racers there.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a trip, because we're coming in down on base to final, and all these people are on top of the buildings and just partying, and they're looking up going, "Whoa, alien!"
Yeah.
And it was quite an affair.
Yeah.
When we left, we had rubber and smoke all over the top of the quickie.
Okay, guys, that's it. So look for the YouTube video in a couple of days, and thanks a lot to Mike, and thanks for everybody for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks, Sam.
y'all.
Cheers,
Bye.
Mike.
Mike. Appreciate it.